Okay, no volume. Okay. Okay, let's keep going because I hit the button again when you said that there was no volume. So let's see if you can hear me now. So testing, testing. Okay, so you heard the testing. Very out of focused on Twitch. I wonder why. How's your focus, honey? Okay, so it looks like volume's working because Q forgot to hit the button. Uh, okay, so you can see me now. And my camera froze. Let's try that one more time. Oh, geez. There we go. Okie dokie. All right, we're finally there. Woohoo! So we survived the weekend. Yes, we had a great weekend. Hope you had a great weekend. I know I had a great weekend. Thanks for everybody who actually joined me this past weekend. There was a lot of you who are on here who joined us last weekend, and that's really exciting because we're already looking forward and talking about the next one. So yes, virtually ever crafting is gonna happen again. Save the date, December 3rd through 6th. I've already talked to several instructors. They're all in. You know, I'm all in because what else am I doing, right? Anyway, so yes, just a shout out to everybody who participated this past weekend and made it a huge success. I mean, it's just been really cool. And you know, I'm gonna also say thank you to those people who shared this with other people and actually in the beginning shared the application with your favorite instructors. So, you know, if you have an instructor who was not at the event, you know, share it with them. Tell them to apply, and let's see if we can make this thing grow even bigger than what it was last weekend. Because I'm really pleased as to how big this event was. Yeah, I'm still on cloud nine, and you know, someone asked. I've had several contacts already from students and instructors, and all of which are like, "Aren't you tired?" Let me just say, yes, I'm very tired, but you know, I'm still working on adrenaline and still trying to keep everything fresh. I'm sitting here all last evening and this morning taking notes about how we can do this better and things that were needed to be addressed and all that good stuff. So it's good. Do expect if you were a participant this past weekend, later this week, you will be getting a survey from us so that you know we want to hear what you think about it and how we can improve. We're already planning a meeting with the instructors this week to have a post-mortem to go over, you know, again, things that we did right, things that we did wrong, and hopefully it will be that much better next time. So again, you know, new adventures, new ventures, and I'm so excited to know that we have something that we are going to move forward with. Okay, so altogether we had almost 100 people participating. So that's and a lot of them took multiple classes, some more than others, and but that's okay. We had like three new instructors who have never taught before, and so or had the opportunity to teach. You know, like one of the instructors was scheduled this year to start teaching at the national conferences. She was actually accepted, but you know what happened to all those conferences? So this was her first opportunity to get on the a platform and be with everybody else. So that was pretty exciting. So you know, so some of the more seasoned instructors had more students than some of the new instructors. But again, we all have to start somewhere, and that's pretty exciting that everybody actually had registration. Which who knew? We wouldn't or we didn't know whether or not they would even get registration when we started all this. But can you believe that this only started 7 weeks ago on a you know on basically a whim? So it was brought up to us at the beginning of June. We talked about it at a Wine on Wednesday cocktail. And thanks to your excitement and everybody who was on that cocktail, you know, it was the excitement that everybody pushed me into doing this, that it was like, okay, you know, if you're all that interested, maybe we should do it. So I'm going to say thank you and a little shout out to those people who are on the cocktail. And by the way, Wine on Wednesday is still happening, and we've already decided that the next Wine on Wednesday, which is only in about 2 weeks, it's always the first Wednesday of every month. It is just a Zoom cocktail, and we're hanging out and having fun. And what are we going to do this time? We're going to do a show and tell. So you better finish your projects from this past weekend, but let's do the show and tell and show everybody what you accomplished from Virtually Ever Crafting. And for those of you who did not attend, you can come on the cocktail and see what all you miss. And you know, okay, so for the cocktail, we did, by the way, do a Zoom cocktail during the Virtually Ever Crafting, and we had like a total of 7 vendors, including instructors and a couple other bead vendors and whatnot at that cocktail vending. And can you believe this? We had almost 50 people attend. For me, that was like a huge number. Okay, and that was really great. We all had a lot of fun. No one really, I don't think anybody really walked away going or anything like that. I got so much positive feedback, and you know, I've been telling people this since yesterday in my class that I have never received so many thank you notes so quickly in my whole entire career. And I haven't even sent out my thank you notes. Usually I send out a thank you note, and that's when people send one back. But this time it was just all very unprompted. So how cool! So let's definitely give ourselves a big round of applause. Yay! Okay, now that I got that out of my chest, because you know what? Today is a beautiful day. Oh my gosh, woke up today and it was like, you know, it's a great day. It's beautiful outside. I've already sat outside. Granted, there was a very nasty falcon that was woke us up at 6 o'clock this morning. He was on the hunt. And aside from that, we're not going to let him ruin our day. And it's, you know, it's one of those days. It's just really great. Okay, without much further ado, let's get started. Today is Minimal Metal Monday. All projects on Monday are based on my book, Minimal Metal Jewelry, that you can find on our website. By the way, get your jewelry books while you can, because Kalmbach did announce a few weeks ago that they are doing away with the jewelry part of their business altogether. So you're not going to be able to get these books for much longer, whether it's mine or anybody else's. So you might want to get on that. They're only going to continue distribution for now. I think it's less than a year that's left that they are going to continue distribution on that. So there you have it. Something else that came up over the weekend was about the Monday classes. So these Monday classes are obviously free. However, if you want the written instructions, they are available for download for only $5, and that's how we're asking for contributions for what we do on Mondays. But you know, these projects are really meant for to get everybody's feet wet and get your creative juices going if you haven't been doing this for a while, or you know, you just need a little bit of something, and they're just meant to be really simple but nice projects. That's not too simple. I'm not just making an earring wire here, right? So, you know, and it's really great soldering practice, okay? And understand that all the projects are based on 16 gauge or 18 gauge wire. And granted, I use a lot of copper. You can definitely use silver or brass. You just can't use plated wire, okay? So today's project is the Lily of the Valley bracelet. We made the necklace last week, and next week we're going to make, the ring. So it was a 3-part series. It's the first time we've done this in 21 weeks. Oh my gosh, this is week 21, or did I say week 22? Whatever week it is. Anyway, so what will you need today? Pretty simple. If you're making the copper, you just need 16 gauge copper wire and some fine silver to make the granules. And I always like to use scrap because I've got plenty of that running around. And of course, an 8mm jump ring for the catch, okay? You could definitely do this in silver, but to make it more interesting, what I would do is, I was doing this in silver, I would make the granules in copper, just for a contrast. I like the contrast. It just gives it a little bit of an oomph. You can definitely also make this in a tricolor. You can do 1 brass, 1 silver, and 1 copper, and that would make it a tricolor. Then choose whatever color you want to do for the granules, or you can, you know, alternate the colors of the granules all around. Whatever. All right. Did I already say this? The only thing you can't use is plated wire, right? So Plated wire, because we're using a torch, you never ever want to use plated wire because you're going to be burning off the coating anyway, and more than likely you have some sort of a white metal underneath, which is not good, or brass. And if it's brass, fine, you can use it, but you got to burn everything off, and it's going to get smoky in your in your studio, and it's just a hot mess. So I would just not use plated wire. Okay, so what tools do you need? Of course, you're going to need a solder setup. Torch, pickle pot, fire tweezers, all that good stuff. Fireboard, just a soldering surface to fire onto. You don't have to have a chasing hammer today, although I'm going to show you how to chase it a little bit to make it a little bit more interesting. Chasing hammer would be good. Bench block, if you're going to be hammering, you'll need that bench block. Tweezers are always your friend for some reason these days. A pair of round nose or multi-looping plier, either one will work. A pair of really nice cutters, whether I like the Lindstrom Ultra Flush cutters because then I don't have to file. Some sort of a chain nose would be nice. I'm going to probably end up using these bent nose, but definitely a chain nose is good for this. And then, of course, a file. So fairly simple tools today. Everybody should have these things on hand. If you don't or need any of these items, we do have it on our website at theurbanbeater.com. I have posted links on the Q Talk Facebook that's attached to this video. I attached the links there so that you can, if you need to make any purchases, they're there and available for you. Okay, and if you have any questions, by the way, we are simulcasting today on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. Andy is, of course, always in my ear. Yep, he's actually talking to me, to let me know what your questions are and to acknowledge your posts. If you have questions, he'll repeat it to me and I'll answer them out loud. He cannot answer questions directly on Facebook, but I can, but he can do it on Twitch. So if you're not on Twitch, join us on Twitch. For everybody out there who's watching on Twitch, thank you for swinging in. Do say hi and tell us where you're watching from, because you know on Twitch we seem to have a really international audience out there. So that said, all right, and thanks for subscribing on Twitch. I really appreciate that too. So okay, first things first, let's jump into the project. You're going to need, okay, so this bracelet here is a little bit small, so it's just over 6 inches, okay? So there's 9 links here. However, for everybody else, you're probably going to need about 10 links, 10 to 11 links, okay? So you want to make each unit 10 to 11 times. So each unit is comprised of 3 pieces, so multiply that up, and 2 granules, all right? So here, the first one, it's going to be 1 3/4, I think. Oh my gosh, I already forgot. Wait, I'm sorry, I totally forgot the measurement. Oh, good thing I have notes that I threw away. Yes, I just went in the trash and pulled out my notes. Whoops. Okay, so first one is 1 1/2, my bad. And we're using 16 gauge wire once again. So we're just going to cut that there. I'll make a couple of them. I'm not going to make 10 today because I already made 10. So 1 1/2. Then we're going to go with 1 inch pieces. So they're going to be descending sizes. So we'll make 2 of those. And then the next one is 3/4 of an inch. And we'll make 2 of those. Okay. And I like to straighten my wires. If you've been following along, I always like to straighten them with 2 bench blocks. It's always nice. Oops. And we put them between the bench blocks and we roll them. Just like that. And look, they straighten out. How cool is that? Except this guy didn't straighten out. A little more. There we are. Okay, so we're making 2 units today. You'll need to make 10 to 11. So you take the longest one at 1 1/2 inches. You take out your chasing hammer. You don't have to do this, but I really like the look. Again, if you've been following along, you know, when I make loops like this, I really like to flatten them out just a little bit. It just gives it a little bit more texture and dimension. Okay. And you'll hammer out about a 1/4 inch. There you go. And you'll hammer it to about half of the thickness. Just like that. Simple. And you'll take out your round nose or your multi-looping plier and make a bend. Bend it right over. And I'm using the smallest one, okay? Just bend it over like so. All the way over, but not completely closed because we'll close it afterwards because we're going to link these on. We're using these loops instead of jump rings because if you actually use a jump ring at this point, it won't lay right. You'll have to add 2 jump rings to get that to lay correctly, okay? So then on the other end, if you have any sharp edges, you want to go ahead and file that and remove any sharp edges. Okay. And then you'll take out your chain nose. I prefer to do this with my chain nose a little bit more so than my round nose, but you can use your round nose too. And I'm going to bend this over. You see that? I'm not on the end here because I come from the end and I bend it over, it's going to be too round. And I'm trying to make a teardrop shape really. So I'm going to come off the edge, probably about 1/8 or so. And notice I'm just going to bend it over and also see I'm working my way down the wire and I'm adjusting as needed and I'm bringing it all the way around. And again, I'm going in a completely different direction from the first loop. The loop is going this way over the top and the teardrop's going to the side. So I'm bending the wire to the side, but before I complete that, I'm looking at my angle here and I'm going to give it a little cut, okay? I'm going to cut it to the inside. I think you can see that. See? So that when it meets the wire, it's going to be really nice and tight. Just like so. You see, now it makes a really nice connection. If you can't get that connection right there, you can file it with a needle file. All right. So I'll do it again. So I like to hold my loop facing up like so instead of on the side. So I face it up like so. I take out my chain nose and about 1/8 of an inch down, I'm going to bend it around. So when you're making a chain, you might want to consider doing this production style. So you'll make all the long ones first, and then you'll do all of the short ones and whatnot. Because chain making is all about consistency. And that's why we like chain making, especially for beginners, because it's repetitive motion that helps you understand what's going on, right? Because when you solder, you have so many joints to solder. And again, it's that repetition that's really nice, okay? So we have 2 there. And then we'll do the same thing for the other pieces. I have a little bevel here, and we all know I don't like to file, so I'm just going to snip that little bevel off, and then I'm going to file this just a itty bit, okay? And again, make the bend. So I'm going to make this loop a little bit smaller than the last one because we want descending sizes. It's just sort of part of the design, right? Actually, I want this a little bit bigger. So bend it over like so. Okay. And then here, I'm going to snip it like so to the inside like I did before and bring it right down. Yep. Repeat. This one has a blunt end, so I don't have to do anything. Again, I'm going to bend that around just like so. And then, whoops, snip it. Okay. Same thing here. If you have sharp edges, make sure you take the sharp edges off. If you don't, you just sort of keep moving. Again, just making our little bends over. And the reason why I'm cutting this angle after I bend it is because I never know which way I'm bending my wire. So if I cut the angle ahead of time, more than likely it's going to go in the wrong direction. Just saying. It's a thing. It's a thing. Okay. And it's going to get more and more rigid as you go because the pieces are smaller. Okay. And same thing here. Again, you can use a round nose if you prefer. You don't want to start on the end. You want to start a little bit off the end, about 1/8 of an inch off the end. Because if you're making a teardrop, otherwise you're just making this round, you'll be making like a question mark. But that's sort of up to you. That's a design aesthetic. Okay. And bring this around. Okay, there we have it. All right. So let's solder it. Actually, no, we're going to make granules first. So you want to pull out a little bit of 18 gauge wire and gently hammer it. And we'll cut these into 1/4 inch pieces. If you want all your granules to be the same size, you want to cut them all the same, of course. And that's how you get consistent size in the granules, okay? The reason why we flatten it just a little bit is so that they don't roll away when we put it on the board. Yes, I'm using scrap, I know. I'm not necessarily helping myself here. So they don't roll away on the board is why we hammer it just a little bit. When we go to we go to make these into granules, they have a tendency to roll away when you're using a round round wire. Okay. There. Okay. So there we have it. I'm gonna give these two didn't get all that flat. There we go. All right. So let's make some granules, and then we'll solder them together. Okay. I'll go ahead and zoom in for you. So today, I dropped my my torch right on top of the board. Nice crack, huh? Oh well, we're gonna just keep moving along with it. All right, so I'm just gonna put these on the board, pull out my fire tweezers, have those handy, and take out your torch, and we're just gonna heat it right there on the board until they form a ball. This is how easy it is. It's no big deal. Okay, and yes, I see that the camera is frozen. I'm going to finish this one piece and then I'm going to readdress that camera there. Don't know why we froze. I know, I know. Okay. So I've made one granule. You want to use fine silver for this. It looks like I picked up some scrap that is not fine silver, and you'll see why. The thing is, fine silver would give you a much nicer ball than sterling silver. That's why we use fine silver. Okay. So as soon as it starts cooling off, you want to go ahead and pick it up off the board so it doesn't stick to the board. It's nice. And you just want to get right to the blue flame if you're using a butane torch. Okay, there we are. So it looks like I got 2 fine silver granules and 2 sterling silver granules. because I have sterling, I'm going to put it in the pickle, but go ahead and quench that. And then put it in the pickle. Hold on a second here. Hopefully they won't fall through the basket in here. All right. So meanwhile, if you have, you pick up your granule and there's a little bit of the magnesia or charcoal, whatever you're using, if there's a little bit of that on the bottom, then do just rub it off, okay? Because you need that to come off to be able to solder it. If you want to, you can just put it on some sandpaper and rub it around a little bit. It'll come off, no worries. And here, actually this one's being a little stubborn. I can't hold something that small, so I'll just take out my pliers and do this. So for all those people who are watching from their lunch break, hey, thanks for taking me to the office and watching from the office. Sort of fun. Okay, so while we're waiting on that, I'm going to pull out some copper solder. And for everybody who's doing sterling silver, you're going to grab some hard solder to work with, okay? This is the first step. So a little bit of copper solder. And I'm just going to put it right here on the side, both sides, like so, okay? Not too much, just a tiny little bit. And I'm going to zoom in just a little bit more for you too, so you can see that a little bit better. Okay. And then I'm going to place the other two pieces. So we have 3 sizes, so every unit will have 1 of each size. I'll put that there. Anybody have any questions so far? Okay, if you have questions, just do throw them out there. I was told that there was quite a bit of lag on Twitch, maybe just on our side, but hopefully not. Hopefully it's just on our side. Okay, I put that on the wrong side. So the medium one goes on the opposite turn of the medium one goes on the opposite turn of the large loop. And the little one is on, oops, don't. Grab that incorrectly. Okay, I'll use a honeycomb on the second one. I don't know why I didn't think about that again. Okay, so there we are, like so, okay? And then I'm going to grab a granule. And I'm going to put a granule right on top here, and then one will go here. Okay, so a couple of things going on here. You can also, if you want to, not completely necessary because we are using 16 gauge wire, but if you want to, put some solder in between the little teardrop loops if you want to close that up. Okay, I'll go ahead and do a little bit here too, just because I can. And I'm soldering this in one shot. You don't have to, but you can. If you want to break it up and solder the granules on the second round, I would use medium for the granules on the second round. All right, I am going to grab a couple granules out of the pickle, and for some reason they didn't pickle. So weird. Okay, so soldering. I was asked to repeat the soldering stuff again. So when you're soldering, if you're doing silver, you're going to start with hard solder, okay? If you're doing copper, you're just going to use the copper solder for the first step. So we're using hard solder to solder these pieces together. And if you want to break up your soldering, because here I'm soldering everything together in one shot. So I'm doing all the copper, or all the teardrops, and then I'm doing the granules all at the same time. But if you're not comfortable with that, you can do the teardrops with hard solder and then come back after you pickle it and do the granules and solder those on with medium solder. Additionally, I am soldering the joint where the teardrops are, right here, where the wire comes around and meets it. You don't have to close that if you don't want to, but you can. Some people prefer that all their pieces are soldered because they worry about it catching. So you can do that again at the same time. You can actually break this into 3 solder steps. You can solder the joints, you can solder the teardrop joints, meaning here first with hard solder, and then you solder the 3 pieces together with medium solder, and then you solder the granules together with easy solder. So you could have stepped it out into 3 steps. I'm really lazy, so I do it all at the same time. So that's what you're watching now, is I'm doing it all at the same time. So my other 2 granules happen to be silver and not copper. I'm sorry, and not fine silver. So they needed a little bit of help. So they are now in the pickle, and for some reason not wanting to pickle, but finally they're coming together here and coming out of the pickle. So hold on. I'm sorry, Andy, what was the question? Can you mix copper solder and hard silver solder at the same time? Not sure why you would do that, but that's sort of problematic because copper solder is will flow so much faster than hard solder. So more than likely, what would happen is you're just going to have a hot mess. So I don't see why you can't, but I would say that it is sort of just a hot mess. So maybe not. Okay. So here I have another granule. I'm going to add a little bit of solder to the side, and I'm going to stick it in. Oops. Right in between here, making sure that that solder is touching something. Okay. There we go. All right. So now I'm going to solder this entire piece. Again, we're going to turn on the torch and take it right to the blue flame and just heat the whole thing. Just like so. Okay. Take out your solder pick, heat it until it flows. So what you're looking for is you're looking for it to look like liquid metal. So that one went there, and those went there. And my solder actually ran this entire length, which is great. That's what we're looking for. Okay, pick that up. Okay, so the question is copper solder for the copper pieces? Yes, and then no, hard solder is if you were using hard silver solder is if you were using silver pieces instead of copper. For the granules, we're going to put copper solder again. Why? Because copper solder self levels, so it doesn't have steps. Because every time you heat it, it's that much harder before it will flow. So it's okay to use the copper solder throughout throughout your whole copper soldering, regardless of how many steps you have. Okay, I know it's really confusing. Okay, so I'm going to set that one aside and I'm going to do another one. So this time I'll do it in steps. Maybe that will help. Okay, so here, this time I'm going to go ahead and actually we'll do it in 3 steps instead of just 1 step. All right, and I'm going to throw this in the pickle. Okay, we'll do it in 3 steps. So I'm going to go ahead and solder this joint first, right, in between the loops. All right, so let's see, where's my solder? So just a teeny weeny little bit right on the underside, like so, is best. I know I put it on top before, but if I was really doing this, I would put it on the underside. For beginners, putting solder on the underside is problematic because you don't you can barely see it and you already don't know what you're looking for. So just put it on top. But for people who've been doing this for a while, it's a little bit more, it's better to put on the bottom because it does create a little bit cleaner of a joint. Okay, this one needs a little bit more help. So I'm going to push it together like so, just to make it a nicer joint. And again, I'm going to put the solder on. So again, I'm going to do this one in 3 steps. If you're doing silver, this is going to be in hard. Since we're doing copper, it is going to be copper throughout. Okay, so now I'm going to solder each one of these individually. So heat the whole thing, and then heat the joint. If it's silver, you need to continue to move the heat throughout. If it's copper, you can just hold it right on the joint. Okay, there, that one goes. And what I'm seeing here, you can literally see the solder look like liquid metal and flow through the joint. Okay, and with copper solder, I can see it looks silvery. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and quench this on the side. My quench bowl is on the side, and I'm going to stick it right into the pickle. After I quench it, you do not want to put hot metal into your pickle because it might make the pickle pop, okay, and splash back, which is not a good thing. You don't want acid coming at you, not your hands, not your face, none of it. All right, so that's going to have to sit in the pickle for a minute. Let's go fish the other piece out. See how it's doing. It's still not ready. I'm starting to feel like my pickle is depreciating here. So how do you know? It's taking forever and it's really hot pickle. So, oh, maybe I've been a little abusive, you know. So, okay, almost there. So I'm gonna pull out my original piece. Wow, it's like really challenged. Okay, so what am I looking at? This is what I'm looking at. So you see, it's not particularly clean, right? And it's been in there for a little while. The silver is not coming back, so I'm just going to stick it back in there and let it sit just another minute longer. Yeah. Okay, so what is pickle? Pickle is basically, it's a sulfuric acid, okay, and it's used to remove fire scale. So if you notice all my pieces turn black, that's fire scale, okay, and this is to remove the fire scale. Now, do you have to have pickle? I don't know. I suppose you can sit here and sand and file it off. It'll take you about an hour. So yeah, I would say pickle's a good thing. Okay. So, yeah, Pickle had a busy weekend. It's revolting. The pickle pot had been on all weekend long. Yep. Every day, adding more water to it. By the way, if your pickle pot has dehydrated, just add more water to it. It'll keep working. It won't. It's until you really like do something silly to contaminate it. It should be working for years, literally. This pickle I've had. How long have we been in this house, honey? 3 years. So I've had it for at least 3 years. I don't think I moved it from the last house here because I just didn't feel like moving the acid and having it spill. Why when you don't have to? And it was less than a cup anyway at that point. So I'm pretty sure this is only 3 years old. But you know, I've had pickle for much longer than that before too. Okay, you are so much better now. All right. I will show you the difference here. So you can see, so much cleaner. And while I'm in here, I will pull the other pieces out too. Okay. By the way, these videos are left up on the Facebook page pretty indefinitely and on YouTube pretty indefinitely, but Twitch is only for 2 weeks. So if you are missing a video, do check out the YouTube page, and the YouTube is under my name, Q Pham Gray. Okay, so you can see it's all nice and clean. I'm going to set this aside. Okay, next up, we're going to do another unit. We just soldered these joints here, and now we're going to solder these together like so. Okay, so we'll go ahead and pull out some solder and solder in between just a little bit, and on the side, oops, both sides, because we're soldering to the side on both sides of this. And notice I didn't put very much on there, it just needs a little tiny bit. The smaller wire goes on the side with the large teardrop, and the medium one goes on the opposite side. I'm sorry, Andy. Oh, I forgot the honeycomb again. Hold on. Okay. Let's see. Here and here. Go. What's the advantage of the honeycomb for those of you who are unfamiliar? You can pin them in place. So here, I can just take out some pins just so they don't roll away, and just put some pins right in here. And keep them, see, I'm pushing it together, and then I can put a pin, oops, right in there, and I'll hold it together. Okay, that's the story of a honeycomb block. There you go. Okay, so now we're on the second step of solder, right? The first one we did the teardrop, so now we're going to do the side by side. With copper, we're just going to use the same solder because copper self-levels. If you're doing silver, you're going to go to medium solder, okay? And we're just going to heat the whole thing, just like that, until the solder flows. There we go. And it ran all the way down. Don't know if you can see that. I think you can. Don't grab these pins. They are hot. Quench them if you need to. Set them aside. And there we have it. Okay. So this has to be pickled again if we're going to get those granules on. Let's see where my granules are. So here's one. Here's another one. Okay. So another thing that needs mentioned here is if you're really looking at this bracelet, I forgot to mention that every other link goes in the opposite direction. I did this so that it would sit more straight than work its way in sort of a curve, okay? So you want to alternate your links to go every other one. Okay. Let's see. So now the pickle decides to work, because look how quick that was. We're ready to come out. But I didn't torment this one as much as I did the other one. You can see that. See? So it's already clean. Put that down. And again, we're going to pin this right in place so it doesn't run away from us. And put it here. So it doesn't move, see? It doesn't really move. Okay, so now I'm going to put a granule here, and I'm going to put a granule here. I'm grabbing the granule with the tweezers, and this one, because it's going to sit on top of the wires, I'm putting the solder right on the bottom. And then this next one, God, are you even a granule, or what are you? Haha, you're a piece of pumice. Whoops. So, solder on the side. because I'm soldering side by side to the wires. Why am I not soldering it on top? Again, it adds a little bit of play on dimension. You can do that if you want. It's all in the design. Everything's a little bit, different. It's up to you. Okay. Ah, I'm sorry. I forgot. If you want yet another look before you solder the granules on, you can hammer the teardrops if you want to. Okay, I'll do a little bit of hammering afterwards, but you do want to do it before you solder the granules so that you don't hammer the granules flat. But if you like flat balls, have at it. You can hammer away and make them all flat. Okay, so here I'm going to heat it again. Just like so. There we go. And boom, it's done. If you're using silver, you'll go to easy solder for the granules. But here again, we're doing copper, so we're just going to do the copper solder. Okay. And again, the reason why you don't want to do the copper and the hard solder at the same time is because the copper solder is so soft, it's just going to make a hot mess. It's just going to keep running. By the time your hard solder actually flows, the copper solder would have run everywhere, and that's the problem. But again, you do you. So here's a piece. We'll throw it in the pickle. Okay. So we'll set this aside, and let's do a little finishing. So here we have our piece. Okay. If you have a little bit of solder, sort of a mess, go ahead and take out some steel wool or a little bit of sandpaper, and you can sand that. Okay. I would take, because they're so small, I would take my sandpaper, go in here and clean up that solder just a little bit because I like things a little bit meticulous. Okay, if you want to, you could also clean this with your brass brush and it'll bring it up. Because we are chain making, traditionally to clean up chains, you want to put it in a tumbler with some steel shot and some tumbling solution. I just use water and Dawn liquid soap. That has sufficed for me for, I don't know, are we going on almost 15 years now that I've been doing this. So, but there is tumbling solution out there that you can purchase. Everybody has their different thing. So you can clean it up like that, and I'll show you how to attach that. Okay, so here comes the next one. That one's done. And remember, it should really go in opposite directions. I forgot. So you can see one goes to the right, one goes to the left with that middle one. Okay, but that's okay. It's just a sample. You get it. Okay. So just add that on there. So on one end, you'll add the jump ring. That's your catch. That's your female part. We put it right on the end here. Open that up with your chain nose. Close it up with your chain nose. You'll solder this joint. I'll show you how in a second, but you'll solder that joint. And then these other links, they get connected. So this one, open up just a little bit. I closed it a little too far. And just connect it like so, and take out your chain nose. Oh, shoot. Missed a step. Whoop, whoop, back it up. Back it up. Okay, so on the back side, okay, notice I've got this weird edge. So we're going to trim it. So here, like so. So you see I have a taper on those wires. It makes a nice transition. Pull out the file. If there's any sharp edges, you want to take that off. Just like so. And you can use a needle file for this. Okay, so I see the comment about the rubber tumbler. that it can, I'm sorry, what is breaking down the rubber tumbler? Oh, Dawn. Okay, interesting. I had not seen that. Honestly, I've had my tumbler for, they must have changed something. Um, but I've had my tumbler for 8 years. It's a rubber barrel. Granted, it's a Loratone, so I get the feeling that your comment has a lot to do with the Harbor Freight tumbler. But I do, now that I think about it, I also have a Harbor Freight one that until I got the Loratone one that I have been using for 5 or 6 years. I feel like they did something with their tumblers recently, and but it's also Harbor Freight. You sort of get what you get, type thing. And frankly, I think that Dawn is really, um, it's really gentle. It's not that harsh of a solution. So I wonder what would happen if you are using tumbling compound, if it's any different, because that stuff is not necessarily, I don't think it is as gentle as Dawn is. But anyway, so you're going to notice I filed the ends, right? And I told you I was going to show you how to hammer it, and I forgot. So here, if you want to hammer these flat, you can. And I'm just going to hold it off here because it's easier for me to hold it than to hold it here. So I like to hold it off the edge. And I'm just going to hammer that. Again, this is optional. And you probably want to do this before you add granules on, or else you'll end up hammering those granules and it's going to be flat. Okay. And another thing too is if you're finding that you're hitting your fingers, how about taking out a pencil with a rubber tip and holding it? It'll help you. So I'm just hammering it to flatten it. I'll show you what it looks like. Okay. Can you see the difference? Barely. It's too bright. Yeah. Sort of see a little bit of a difference. It's a textural thing. Okay. Don't forget, you got to do this one too. Let me do that. Oops. Why can't I get in there? What happened? What's going on? Okay. Snip that. And then snip that one. So you can see, again, I'm making that taper. And we're going to file it. If you want to sand it, or if you have an emery board, that's fine too. Some people like using a little emery board. It's nice to get in there. Or I like to also wrap my sandpaper around a tongue depressor or a popsicle stick. That works also. Something like, oops, something like this. Okay. All right. So there we are. We'll connect this piece to this piece. And you'll just keep doing this until you have your length all the way down. Okay. So we're just connecting all those pieces all the way down. The only difference is you want to make sure you reserve your last piece, because if you notice the difference here is I'm turning it instead of to the side to go forward to make a hook. Okay, so that's how the last piece will go, and that will hook on just, oops, just like this. You see? So I'll demo that real quick. Again, it is the 1.5 inch piece. And we'll go like so today. Hammer, oops, straighten it out. Just a little bit. Let's see. Straighten it out. Hammer the end. About 1/4 inch. Take out your round nose. I like using my multi-looping plier because it makes it all very consistent. Make a loop like so on that end. And remember last time we pulled it to the side. right? We turned this to the side last time. Instead, this time we're going to turn it over the top in the same direction as your first loop. Okay, so it's on the same plane. But this is what it looks like, and you'll see here, right? It's the same direction. You'll want to hammer just a little bit on the edge. That'll make it nice and rigid because it is a clasp, okay? And that will work hard in it for you. And then you'll solder the other two pieces. So once you get it like this, you really do want to put it on the honeycomb or else it's going to fall over. So you can pin your piece in like so and put your two side teardrops there and it'll sit very nicely. Let's see if you can see that. You see what I mean? So that's it. Okay, then we'll liver-o-sulfur this. Let's see what we're doing here. A little bit of liver-sulfur. I'm going to throw this into the microwave. Hold on. So I have a little water going into the microwave for about 30 seconds. So yesterday during class, I got ambitious. I put it in for a whole minute. Oh, it was boiling. Whoops. Okay, if you don't like the patina look, because you can see the difference between my two samples here, then don't liver-o-sulfur it. But if you liver-o-sulfur it, it'll look like that. Okay, so pull out a little bit of liver-o-sulfur. We'll throw it in there. Oh, always love the smell of a liver-o-sulfur can. Woof. Okay. Throw a little bit in there. There we are. You can see that. And take out some. I really like my plastic tweezers for this. Ah! Nope. Yes, I'm good. I just realized I didn't solder the clasp ring either. Okay, so clearly I had a long weekend before you liver-o-sulfur. Let's go back. Okay, so here, if you want to solder the jump ring, you should really, at the very least, solder this jump ring. How are we going to do it? This is how we're going to do it. Okay, I'm going to hold this like so. I'm going to put a little solder on there. This is why I like paste solder, because soldering jump rings is really painful with chip solder or any other kind of solder. Okay, so you see that? A little bit on the top there. I have it at 12 o'clock. I'm going to turn on my torch. And I'm going to put the torch right there. You see, right on the blue tip, right at the joint. Turn it up a little bit, and there. Did you see it? It totally turned, right? And that is a solder jump ring. Let me throw that one in pickle again real quick. And then we'll finish up. Sorry about that. Did you need to solder this joint in between? You know, if you're really rough on your bracelet, yeah, go ahead. I would do it one at a time. You're going to connect it, and then one at a time, put a little bit of solder there and heat it. Precautionary tale though, because by doing this, you will risk melting your granules and releasing that. Okay, so be really careful. How big is the ring? Oh, I'm sorry, it's an 8mm jump ring. Okay, so let's pull you out of the pickle. Let's see. I feel like I'm getting a little too comfortable with this. This going live streaming thing. I skip over everything. I'm like, just do it. Isn't it easy? Haven't you been following for 21 weeks, 22 weeks, you know? So I think next week I'm gonna have to get my act together. Holy moly. Jeez. Okay, so here we are. It's pretty clean. Stick it in and voila, it's done. It's pretty hot, that's why, even though it's only 30 seconds. And notice I don't have that much. It's like maybe half a cup. So that's why it didn't take too long in the microwave. Also depends on your microwave, of course. And mind you, I have a studio microwave, so don't put the stuff unless it's just water into your regular microwave. But here we are. It is nice and um, liver sulfur, so you have that nice patina on it. And we're just going to clean it back up. And that will bring everything nice and bright, except in the recesses. Again, if you want to, you can go ahead and um, tumble this, and it'll burnish it up nicely. Okay, there you go. Okay. The other thing too is a tumbler will surface harden the wire. It's not a complete um, work harden, but it does give it a little bit. Okay, it'll help. Yes, you know, I thought about the comment was I needed rest after virtual evercrafting over the weekend. You know, it's funny when I woke up this morning, I was like, oh, I think I need a small break. But I think I've also decided, I haven't shared it with Andy yet. We'll go ahead and share it with him now. So after virtually evercrafting in December, I think we're going to take a week vacation. What do you think, honey? I think we should go take a road trip and go down and see the man child. He says okay. Okay, so notice I'm cleaning it up and it's no longer that bright copper color. Neither are my fingers. Yep, this jeweler's hands is what we get. But the nail polish is doing pretty good after a week. Woohoo! And after a whole weekend of virtually evercrafting, nail polish is doing pretty good. Pretty happy about it. Okay, there it is. Keep connecting until you get your size. You'll need approximately 10 to 11. This one was 9 and it just barely fits me. I'm a really small wrist, so you'll probably want to do 10 to 11 pieces versus my 9, okay? So this goes on one end, your clasp, but this one goes on the opposite end, and there you have a bracelet. Anyway, if you have any questions, do throw it at me. What are we looking forward to this week? We are looking forward to pearls on Wednesday. Notice I did try to have a lighter schedule this week. So on Wednesday, we're just going to do a demo day and we're going to talk about pearls and everything you want to know about pearls. Bring your questions and I'll see what my knowledge base can answer for you. And on Friday, we have a free Zoom with Kit. It's the Twisted Sachet earrings. And then next week, we are going to start up step-by-step surprise again. So this is the earring. I don't know what happened to my earring wire along the way, but that's the earring for this week. So you can still sign up for that. But we have step-by-step surprise is coming back next Wednesday with the Luster, step-by-step Luster project. So you can guess what that's about. And then the following Friday, we have another Zoom. It is, what are we doing? Oh, the willow earrings, right? With tube setting. I don't know what that sample is. I'll show you on Wednesday. But okay, so pearls on Wednesday, free Zoom with Kit on Friday, and then we'll be back next Monday with the Lily of the Valley ring. Okay. Oh, so one more time, the jump ring is an 8mm jump ring on the end. Okay, for your catch. All right. So that's it for me today. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for joining me. Even though we all had a really long weekend, it was fun. Can't wait till the next one. I'll see you on Wednesday. And I'll answer any other questions. Send it to me on Facebook. September schedule, give me about a week. I think I'm hoping for the end of this week. I already have projects listed or in my brain. I just have to do a little bit more detail to get it together. Okay. So we'll see you then. Pretty excited. I know we're into September. Woohoo! Here we are. But I'm not ready for end of summer. Are you? No. I know fall's great, but I still like summer too. It just says that the year is almost over. All right. Oh well. But this is over. So I will see you on